The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Monday, the 12th day of June, 2023. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour, brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman. She's Sherry Vanderpool, and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Sister Sherry, happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Jamal. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm doing good. I had a pretty good sleep. Yeah, I had to think about it for a minute.
Like a weekend worth of sleep or just last night?
No, just definitely last night. I didn't get any sleep Saturday.
Oh, what'd you do?
It's not so much what I did. It just didn't happen quite the way I would like it to be.
So you gonna tell us how your weekend, like what you did or anything?
My weekend was good. What did I do Friday? I don't know. I was on the show Friday. Can't remember what I did for the rest of the day. Saturday ran errands and so forth, and then had some company over last night. So that was awesome.
Had company, folks.
And it wasn't you. So
I wasn't talking about me. The audience weren't invited. Audience, we always talk about our weekends. How was your weekend? Like, what did you all do? What did you do this weekend? We want to know. Good morning, Monica Dunstan, live. We haven't seen you live in a while. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Karen, good morning to you as well. And Tanya Cheeseman, happy Monday to you. Yes, it's not Sherry's favorite day of the week. We know.
It really, truly isn't. But because I'm here, it just makes it, it just does something for me.
Let's edit that, because you're here with
the TDH audience.
And
Maya, I think she's in today, yes.
And
you. Yes. You didn't bug me up that much this weekend, Jamal. Oh. What did you do?
No, I'm like, man, it's a whole Sunday and I haven't communicated.
No, we saw each other Sunday, but for a brief second. It wasn't too long.
Yeah, but we didn't communicate really. But yeah. But no, I had an all right weekend. I had to go to the Apple store, get the iPad done, and because I'm trying to do more. Obviously, I don't move the laptop that's connected to all this stuff. So I had to, to do more for the show and make sure that we're clicked in. I had to get the iPad straight. So hopefully it helps with the quality of what we can bring to you all. I watched my sports teams from South Florida be stupid. That didn't impress me too much. Yeah. So
a lot of games on right now. It's basketballs, right? And
basketball and hockey finals right now, and looks like they'll both be over very soon because certain teams don't want to show up. But anyway, greetings everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today. You know what? We're going to be discussing, and if you didn't see it, it was on our Instagram stories yesterday. What will it take for Bermudians to stand up to their government? That's the question for the morning. So the daily play is going to be who said it. So Sherry's going to be guessing the author of a famous, quote. And
this is why I don't like Mondays. This is probably part of it. This part.
That's the easy part, no? You don't like that?
You always say it's easy, Jamal. You always say it's easy.
All right, well.
Sherry, but you know the answers.
She'll be all right, folks. She'll be all right. Don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, let's just jump right into it. A lot's been going on. A lot of people been talking. A lot of people have concerns, and a lot of it comes right back to the government. I actually tweeted yesterday, and I don't remember the exact quote, so don't quote me on my quote tweet, but it was pretty much to the effect that what if someone could prove to you that the UBP/OBA governments were actually not as bad as the PLP government? What if someone could prove that to you? And a bunch of people responded, but it's been proven. Look at the quality of life today versus previously. Look, here's the thing, Sherry. Sometimes our politics blinds us so much that we legit only express stupidity, right? Like, if you had food in your cupboards, a job that wasn't just paying you enough to live paycheck to paycheck, but gave you enough to have money on the side for a trip every now and then, to go and take care of family, this and that. And then you go from that to can't find a place, can't afford to fill your cupboards, to fill your refrigerator. I mean, there's only one answer, right? But for some reason, we just, as a collective, won't admit it. So the question of the morning, audience, very simple. What will it take for Bermudians to stand up against their government? What will it take for Bermudians to stand up against their government? I'm just going to go to Instagram first, Sherry, and just read some of the responses from Instagram. So Instagram, we got very interesting responses. And I say interesting because, well, they're always interesting because you guys think a lot. But one of the first response I'm going to come across, what will it take for Bermudians to stand up against their government? Someone says something they don't know how to do: unite, be verbal, and be seen. All right. Another person says, I really don't know, because at this point, we getting jerked by the government. Another person says, when we get past the fact that we only vote for the PLP because they are a black party, but are they? Another person, the question again is, what will it take for Bermudians to stand up against their government? This person says, when it impacts locals in IB/insurance/white collar jobs, that's where the two Bermudas is in wage gap, not race. Hold on to that one, because you know what? No, we'll stop there. We'll go back to the other responses. The reason I say hold on to that one is because it makes me think about what Sir John Swan said. And Sir John said that one of the issues is IB companies, or international businesses, and won't allow their staff to be involved in politics. And I actually feel like that comment, probably someone who works in that space or is familiar with it, says something that we all think. Like, until those folks, let's be honest, people in the IB sector are making money that a lot of people on Twitter are just like, hold up, what you mean people out there making over $10,000 a month, not having no deductions for health and this and that? Like, there are a certain, Bermuda is so separated, and that person's right. It's not by race. There are a lot of black Bermudians in the IB sector making crazy money, right? And they probably hold a lot of the power. But once those companies start merging and they're out of jobs and they can't find additional jobs to make up, and they still have those big mortgages and things, that lifestyle they want, maybe that will be the turning point. But do those people in those positions even possess the fight? I like that response. But again, folks, the question of the morning, what will it take for Bermudians to stand up against their government?
Jamal, I kind of chuckled when you began, if it could be proven that UBP wasn't all your quote, what it was. And when you used the word blinded, in my mind, I was like, I was saying to myself, well, yeah, who was blind and who? And so I was chuckling to myself that we would even use the same context, right? And it is like, what was going on back then that worked at that point and is not working now. Of course, two different governments. Why did we think that PLP was going to be the better government? And then to answer the question, like, what can we do? What can it take for Bermudians to stand up against the government? Jamal, I don't know, because I would feel like at this point, we are at the lowest of the low. We have crime that has been an uptick in that. We have so many different accidents that are happening, and that could be for a number of reasons. We have so many people out of jobs, can't find anywhere to live. At this point, I'm thinking the time is now.
Well, it's interesting because I'm gonna give an analogy. Let's use the immigration situation, right? The PLP inspired a collection of Bermudians, right? Mainly Black Bermudians, to march against immigration, to march against the airport deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was a husband and wife. And the wife is being told, right, that she needs a new battery for her car. And if she doesn't get the battery alternator fixed, it's going to impact the car's ability to run. The wife up in arms, no, I'm not getting it. I can't afford it, whatever. Da, da, da. All right. The wife, in protest, decides to just keep trucking along. Husband and wife get divorced for various reasons. New guy comes into town. New guy comes into town. All of a sudden, the wife says, oh, I need to get a new battery and alternator. Well, the previous husband told you that, and you fought against it. Now, all of a sudden, you got a new guy in town. He says something wrong with your car, and you say, oh, I need to get a new battery and alternator. That's what I think of the PLP and the Bermudian people as it relates to immigration and the airport. The PLP made you believe that this airport was being taken away from your children and grandchildren, got in power, and basically said, oh, after further research, we couldn't do anything about the deal. Don't be fooled. They knew they couldn't do anything about it, and they knew they weren't going to do anything about it. The second thing with immigration, a blind person could tell you Bermuda needed more people. The fact that PLP had chased people out of Bermuda, right, for using various tactics, acting as if they were putting Bermudians first, right? Now, all of a sudden, Michael Fay and the crew are gone, and you've got this guy, Jason Hayward, out there saying we need more Bermuda. Well, duh, they told you that before, bruh. Did they not tell you that? And so now the people, they ain't making no noise about it. They ain't said nothing. And I think Mia Hartman says it here, to answer the question, what will it take from Bermudians to stand up against their government? Nothing. There's a generation that loves licks. And because the government is Black, they don't mind taking licks. So let's talk about being Black.
The conditioning.
We were talking about diversity and equity and inclusion and all that. And I will shout this to the top of my lungs. I don't believe that diversity, equity, and inclusion is about being Black and white. That's not diversity or cultural. Diversity, in my opinion, is diversity of thought. We've seen them take Black people and put them in spaces and then scream and shout, see, we are diverse. We have a Black such and such. But that Black person doesn't represent the collective. That Black person is not going to take any risk unless it's safe. Perfect example, George Floyd. What Black person weren't speaking out about George Floyd? It was easy. But tell that Black person to go speak out against an everyday issue impacting Black people.
Or do something impactful.
Do something, yeah. Take a risk. They won't do it. So I'm not down with the Black and white because there's too many Black people who are moving into spaces that are making sure they're good, they're okay. And they're okay to satisfy that status quo as long as they're getting theirs. And that's where we get back to the white collar IB worker that person was talking about. We will not collectively stand up to the government until the most comfortable of the citizens becomes uncomfortable. Charles H. Jeffers II says, I think it's going to take a viable alternative. Standing up against something requires us all to stand up for something else. I disagree. Mr. Marshall, Larry Marshall Sr. said for years, everybody kept asking, what's the alternative to ending conscription? Well, the alternative to ending the transatlantic slave trade and chattel slavery, people kept saying, well, what's the alternative? Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom. We have got to stop thinking that we need to be genius and come up with the alternative. The alternative is to simply get rid of what we have. Now, you all may say, well, the OBA is no better. Maybe they aren't. The alternative is being brave enough to understand that the current system doesn't work for us. The alternative may be what Black people were actually pushing for many years ago, which is a level of freedom when it comes to our dependence versus independence as a nation. That's the alternative. But we're so narrow in our thinking to think that the alternative is to choose between two groups of people who maybe have both expiration dates that have passed.
And the choice is a risk.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, Sherry. Shamari says, Bermudians view politics like sports, my team versus your team mentality. The only way people will stand up is if my team mindset has changed. Exactly. Absolutely. It literally is like sports. And I say this, and I'm dead serious about this. Look, I have two main teams in my life, and that's because of family, not by choice. And that's Norwich and Baylor's Bay. Those are my teams. Outside of that, I'm an Atlanta Braves, Manchester United guy who chosen teams as I grew, was a young child, right? Grew into them, been to a few Braves games, been to Manchester United preseason games, right? But none of my teams, not the ones I was born into, nor the ones that I've chosen.
Yeah.
Not my family, no matter how close, will I make bad excuses for and cheer on. I don't believe in that. And I hope people don't do that for me. If I'm a jackass, you need to tell me I'm being a jackass. If I'm wrong, if you love me, you need to tell me I'm wrong. I may react to you like I'm not.
Sorry, Jamal.
But at the end of the day, having the courage to have that conversation, that's real love. You know what I'm saying?
And I think
all politicians.
I was going to say, as Jamal said, we debate and we argue to better understand each other and to know where we're coming from to make an informed decision. And I think when we have two governments that, or the present government that doesn't, as I have always said, it has not been transparent, or have they, Jamal, at the same token? And here we are, because we haven't been given the information to make informed consent. But then the question again is, even if we were, what decisions would we make? Yeah. And are we making a decision at this point by doing nothing?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of is what they say. Sometimes silence is consent. I don't think it is, but that's what some people feel. Yeah. Folks, what are your thoughts? What will it take for Bermudians to stand up against their government? Let's go back to the Instagram because there were some more responses, Sherry. And someone says people are looking for a leader to follow when we all have the power to lead. That one there. People are literally looking outside of themselves for something. And I've said this for ages. Sometimes everything we need is within us. Not a cliche statement, but honestly, it literally is within us. Someone says, when they feel material loss, people will only stand up when they feel material loss. And I agree with that. When we start to lose the things that we value, that's when it'll happen. Let's go, Sherry. What you got?
So I got Sean DeShields, and he states that standing up will require experience, unfortunately, financial hardships. When the majority of the public start losing their hard-earned wealth, will they act?
Yeah, I concur, Sean. I absolutely agree with you. I believe when people start, and I think that goes with the comment from Instagram just now, when people start to lose their material possessions,
Yeah.
that's when you will probably see people react.
And then Renee Simmons says, we've been bamboozled, hoodwinked, and scammed. We voted them in trust in a change for the people. They have proven themselves worse. Therefore, we, the people, have to unite and take a stand. And I guess part of my response to that is, were people bamboozled, hoodwinked, or scammed? Or at the time, and I'm talking when PLP came into power, did we want to just take a risk of something different? Well, the risk didn't pay off in the long run. And now there's time to make another change.
I agree with both, and I think both can be right. I do think, for the most part, people were hoodwinked, bamboozled, and scammed. And I say this because just use the airport situation. There or immigration, the two examples I gave, they made it seem like they were going to save you from your country being taken from you. And all they've done, because they have no leverage. I said this about the Bermuda Tourism Authority last week, and I feel for them, right? One of the biggest issues they have is that your stakeholders don't respect you. They think you're a joke, right? If the stakeholders don't respect you, it's going to be pretty hard for you to do your job. With the government of Bermuda, I see Jason Hayward posting these pictures up on LinkedIn almost daily of him shaking hands with some businessman in New York or a new office in Bermuda. And I'm just like, I cannot imagine what they say about this guy once he leaves a room. Let's have an honest conversation. You really think, outside of Curtis Dickinson, maybe Renee Ming, maybe Walter Rand, a few others, you really think these bankers and business execs, reinsurance captive, you really think they respect the government leadership of Bermuda, who has no claim to fame outside of winning popularity contests using the name and history of a political party? You really think that when these people leave, that's why comments when people say, oh, this person said they've got David Burt wrapped around their finger. I believe it. Because one, these business people didn't get there just by, having money. They got there being shrewd. These politicians know how to win elections, but they've never proven that they know how to govern, number one, and two, do business. Again, folks, what will it take for Bermudians to stand up against their government? Sean DeShields says, if and when Bermuda dollar is devalued, people will start paying attention and act as their purchasing power will be significantly diminished. If that would have happened, woo, that would be something. That would be something.
Yeah.
Let's go. I think we've got a couple more responses on Instagram. Again, what will it take for Bermudians to stand up against their government, folks? Another person says, when we stop thinking the behavior is acceptable simply because they aren't the other guys. Another person says, when vote isn't dependent on race and is actually about how to better Bermuda. Well, I mean, both parties vote on race. This has been proven that, what was it, 97, 98% of white people voted for the party outside of the PLP. So, race has always been a factor. The party group of people that never traditionally voted more down the line was black voters. So, when you bring up race and voting, please keep in mind that traditionally white Bermudians or non-black Bermudians had a big voter block one way. So I'm not going to go any further on that. Someone, what will it take for Bermudians to stand up against their government? Someone says, no more phones. Take away their phones. Take away their phones. Take away their phones. Folks, what will it take for Bermudians to stand up against their government? This is an interesting conversation. I think this is an interesting conversation because everyone has an opinion. Everyone, we tweet, we go on social media, we comment here, right? What I'll say from my own experience in challenging the government before the courts, right to the Privy Council, you have to be mentally and emotionally strong. And not everyone's there. And we can't expect everyone to be there. We are all built differently. We come from different places, right? It's rough. It's tough. You know, you're out there fighting for people, and the people you're fighting for are the ones giving you the hardest time. You're fighting for people, and they're the ones that are saying, well, it's not that bad. Okay, well, it's worse in Ukraine or Iraq. And like, you're up against those kind of mindsets. It's not easy. I get it. It's really not easy. But if not you, who? If not now, when? Seriously.
And if not, look around and see all of these thefts. That's, you know, the trickle-down effect.
Folks, it's a lot going on in Bermuda. And it's not all the government's fault. But a lot of stuff starts from the leadership of a country, a company, or an organization. Sean DeShield says, heaven forbid IB decides to seek greener pastures as our tourism sector is in shambles and incapable of sustaining BDA's economy. Folks, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back. We've got an extended news break for you with Maya. But keep your comments coming. What will it take? You know, this is you. This is on you, all of you. What will it take for you to stand up against your government? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid to lose? I'm interested. Stick with us.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's.
Her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dandytown Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. Sherry Vanderpool, I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Don't forget to subscribe on our website, dailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Let's go to Maya. Well, let's read a comment first before we bring Maya in. Misha Fabler says, viable alternatives, a new generation of young adults interested in improving the country and not just climbing the economic ladder. I like that. Well, again, that's an alternative, but the alternative doesn't necessarily have to be politics. It has to be a shift in thought. You know, for me, the alternative is a level of freedom that we've been traditionally, generationally afraid to take. Maybe that's an independent Bermuda. I mean, I get why people are afraid of it and scared of it based on the current, you know, political setup. But again, Misha, I mean, look, I'm going to be very vulnerable, share something. I could probably be owning 2 homes right now and $1 million business if we didn't take up a court fight that's cost us over $500,000. You know, like it's things like that. It takes risk. It takes courage, right? It takes support to fight. It does. But we have to stop being so selfish and understand what those who came before us risked so that we can have what we enjoy today. All right, let's bring Maya in for the Daily Hour News Break.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, madam. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Had a really, really good weekend, so no complaints here.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, you did.
I'm gonna ask.
Well, yes, I did go to the Trevor Noah Conversation Belong Everywhere, but I also got to go to Kristen White's tours, the African diaspora in St. George's. I never been on one of her tours I always wanted to, so I finally went on that with my cousin, and then I also went to the powwow, so had a good time.
Yes, I saw.
Nice.
What tribe was down there at the powwow? You know?
Oh, it's the St. David's Islanders and their native community. I didn't specifically hear each tribe recognize themselves by name, but I'm sure they did have that. But I was only there for an hour yesterday. So I got to see the dancers and I got to see the gumbes and go around and, just talk and celebrate and listen. So.
I like to hear you
Awesome.
had a weekend, Maya. I'm glad you got out and had some fun.
It was active. I had a suntan, I think, a little bit. Something's going on.
It's the ants today, though.
Really, it's back to.
It's supposed to be more rain this week.
I'll let Maya tell the bit.
We'll find out at the end of today.
Today, madam.
Well, not good news. Not good news at all starting out this morning, Bermuda. We know that there's been a series of collisions going on. And to start out with this news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy, a family is currently mourning the life of a 38-year-old man who died in a single vehicle traffic collision involving a motorcycle on Saturday, June 10th, shortly before 7:10 p.m. It was reported that the 38-year-old man was traveling east on North Shore Road, Devonshire, just east of the junction of Duck Hill, when the rider lost control of the vehicle and collided with a wall. He was thrown over the wall on impact and down an embankment. He sustained a serious head injury and was attended to at the scene by EMTs. He was subsequently sent to the hospital, where he did succumb to his injuries a short time later. This would make Bermuda's sixth fatal collision this year.
Unfortunately.
One a month, but condolences to the family, friends, community. And I just want to say something. I'm going to go to Twitter real quickly because I tweeted this, and I think whether it's a shooting or an accident, I think we kind of forget about this part. And I tweeted last night when I saw the amount of people that were saying it's another accident and another accident, right? And they were sharing it. And I'm just thinking about the first responders, right? I can only imagine the emotional toll that it takes on them as well. And we so often forget about them. And I just said sending positive energy and strength to Bermuda's first responders who have been kept busy due to recent collisions on our roads. You appreciate it. And I think they need that boost. They need that boost because I know they're not doing it to get a pat on the back, but Sherry, you this is the kind of work you do, right? I can only imagine the toll it takes on them. So just anyone, if you see a first responder, just give them some love and just tell them thank you for what they do.
And I just hope they're being supported at work. Debriefing is very important, and after certain situations, and if not that, they've given time off to debrief and get themselves together to go out and continue to do.
Yeah, I remember speaking to an officer on the Bermuda Road Safety Week, and he was just mentioning like the first time he hears it, it's just he says that the first thing you think of is like, is it somebody I know? Like, and then is it somebody who's family? And then it's just like, it's a process, definitely. Obviously, they've done it many hundreds of times, unfortunately. A lot of the collisions on our island still don't even get reported sometimes because either they don't call the police or, they start to drive off. So there are, what you hear and what you see report, there's always more.
Yeah,
Fortunately.
Yeah. And continuing on with the stream of collisions, in other news, a woman is suffering from what is believed to be life-threatening injuries after a serious two-vehicle collision on Sunday, June 11th, shortly before 5 p.m., involving a livery cycle and a motor car on Middle Road, just west of Evans Bay, Southampton. I believe I do have a photo for this that was posted from the Bermuda Police. Yes, here. As you can see in the image here, quite disturbing stuff. Initial information suggests that a livery cycle with two people were traveling in the westbound lane when the male rider lost control of the cycle and crossed into the path of a motor car traveling in the eastbound lane. Both the man and his female pillion passenger have been transported to the hospital for treatment. The woman is believed to have suffered life-threatening injuries, while the man has suffered a leg injury. The driver of the car was not reported to be injured.
We talked about this on Friday, right, Jamal?
Yeah. I think we said it again. Just take your time on the roads. Again, we know that there's because of the rain. There's been a lot of potholes. Just take extra precaution. Just go a little bit slower. Leave him a bit earlier. Obviously, when you have potholes and then you add speed, chances are things are gonna happen.
And even without the rain, you should always be 2 car distances behind. But when it is bad conditions and the potholes that we have, try to keep it four paces behind. I was doing that all weekend, and even those quick stops. And again, the potholes, it's necessary to keep your distance. Keep your distance.
And I hope that some of our rental companies are spending a little extra time with our tourists.
That's it. Yeah. I'm going to close out the collision news, but merely 2 hours after the last one I just reported, shortly after 7:25 on again June the 11th, police received a report of a single vehicle collision traffic in Harrington Sound Road near the junction of Broken Hill and Smiths Parish. So initial information suggests a motorcycle was traveling east on Harrington Sound Road when, upon approaching Broken Hill, the male rider collided with a concrete wall. He sustained serious facial injuries but remained conscious, and a female pillion passenger sustained minor injuries. Both were attended to at the scene, sent to the hospital for further injuries. Anyone who may have witnessed this collision is please asked to contact the police at 211. And also the police want to say, if you have seen images, videos being circulated, please delete them and respect the privacy of the family first.
Yeah, and we spoke about that last week as well. We spoke about that. No need to send a picture.
Well, going on to some happier news, some more community news that's going on around the weekend. So the St. David's Islanders and Native community hosted their powwow over the weekend. A powwow, in the simplest description, is Native American people have powwows to celebrate the culture and keep the tradition alive, to raise into their own children the knowledge of the St. David's Islanders and the Native community. For over 20 years, the St. David's Islanders and Native community have been committed to sharing what they have retained and learned about their culture, heritage, and tradition. So here's a video that I got from the St. David's Islanders Instagram, and is a quick clip of a dance/game that they play. It was called The Duck and the Hunter, and then another with the drummers that you get to see. If you weren't there, you did fight yourself.
This is the duck dance.
This is the last dance.
Yeah, this is the last dance for our Eastern social dances. So come on out, join in. It's a lot of fun.
As a descendant of the Cherokee tribe, I should have a bit of rhythm, I don't know, it just skipped me. I don't know. But
please, Jamal, do not open up that door. Do not. Because I will walk through. It skipped you by hair.
She did this to me on Friday when I showed a picture of me from when I was a child on my mama's V80. And I was like, oh, back when I was too short to touch my feet to touch the ground. And she says, oh, you walked to this door. Anyway, Maya, we're going to ignore the rude people. But how was that experience for you being there, seeing that?
I love being there. I think this was actually my first time that I remember going there, because I feel like either I was always in university schools. My mother would always go. My sister would always go. She was actually on the poster of one of them because they had the time to go. I was just like watching through them and always receiving images and photos. I even got to speak with actually the St. David's Islanders 2 years ago, around the time that my best friend Rashay had died. So I never got to share the information, but it was a deep documentary with them, and I still have it. And one day I hope to release it with them, depending on when they want to. But just the history of how they originated into Bermuda, and just so much about the culture and what they did on there, and even the regalia itself, and how they make it, and how they have to go away, and see the other communities and how they found each other. It's a great story, and honestly, I'm glad that the continuously keeping the culture alive, and I want it to be, and they do too, want it to be more a part of school curriculum, so we understand and know more about it in the St. David's Islanders. So
I love that clip, Maya, and it just, it's good to see Bermudians attend and be there and so forth. And I saw it on WhatsApp statuses, and it just looks like a really cool event. And like yourself, I've never been home during the time that it's happened. I would love to attend.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I loved it.
One day, Sherry.
They even have the Oscar
I said maybe I'll take you one day, Sherry.
Oh, I'm glad I asked you to repeat that. Yeah.
Moving on to some more news, like I said, over the weekend, I did go to the Trevor Noah's Belong Everywhere conversation. So a part of that, which was put on by CG Insurance, but a part of that, Glenn Jones was back in Bermuda. He's an anchor host up in Boston, done while he was here in Bermuda as well. And so I got to speak to him a little bit. And here's a conversation we had about Bermuda's, what we kind of call it in our community, a brain drain. And I asked about his experience about leaving. But here's the clip, and maybe you guys will get something from it, and maybe an understanding as to why people leave. Different recognition for the work that you do now that you're off the island versus when you were here.
That's a really interesting question. I'll tell you this: when I left and it became public that I was leaving, there was an outpouring of gratitude for the work that I had done. So I do think that there has been an acknowledgement to really heart and soul that I poured into the work that I do here, that I did here before. So I don't think it was overlooked. But I do think now there is even a greater emphasis on what could have been now that something great is happening somewhere else. So I do hear from people who say, if the energy and passion that you're exhibiting doing what you're doing now was here in Bermuda, it would be for the benefit of us. And they feel like they're losing out on that benefit. But, I feel like there's still so many ways for me to support and give back to my community. This is one way, and I'm going to look for more opportunities to do this, because this was as satisfying to me as it seems to have been for everybody who's in here.
We often talk about the brain drain that Bermuda is feeling with all our creative, brilliant people just leaving the island. What would it take to bring those people back home? Or, maybe is there something that's also inside you that's thinking like, I needed to leave because maybe like in Bermuda you kind of reach a ceiling and there's no more progression. What's your overall opinion on that?
Well, so, I think for me, this was really just about opportunity. This was not something that I was looking to do. It kind of found me, and it would be silly for me not to grasp this opportunity. But when there's a bright opportunity somewhere else, including in Bermuda, I'll consider that too. I think my departure does not come with no return. I think there might be a time in the future where I do return, and I look forward to that.
Awesome. And one more question just about the overall event here. What was your takeaway after it ended?
I was really struck at how someone like Trevor, who doesn't know a ton about this community and is visiting it for the first time, can speak words that were so relevant to what we're thinking about and living with in Bermuda. His ability to do that is like none other I've ever seen before, quite honestly.
Maya.
I'll say this much. I was probably most happiest when Glenn landed back in his space. That's where he's happiest. That's where he needs to be. Glenn Jones he's not a politician. He's not, although he was Dr. Ewart Brown's press secretary, he's not made for the politics of what the role he had was. And you just see he looks younger almost, and I think he looks healthier, like better, and most of all, he looks happier. And I'm happy he's in a space where he wants to be.
Yeah, and I as well, Jamal. I've worked a little bit with Glenn, and just to see him in his element it's just been wonderful to see. And Maya, I'm just excited for you that you was able to grab this interview with him so briefly and so quickly. So love it.
Yeah, I would say like I actually arrived at the Hamilton Princess at 5:15. The event started at 6. The room was packed. It was full. I was shocked because I was trying to get there really early to get a good seat when I was able to get there. And then Danielle came out. Danielle from Bacardi came out to introduce Glenn to the audience, and then Glenn came out and Trevor followed through. Now the conversation again was belong everywhere. So in one of the questions that Glenn had asked Trevor, and I'm going off of memory here, was about the acceptance of the LGBTQ plus community within the Black community and why it's probably taking longer for the Black community to accept it. And this is the response that Trevor gave at this point.
You can't deny Black people around the world have adopted religion in a way that is oftentimes surpassed now the people that taught them that very religion. And so if you go to Europe now, religion is dwindling, it's fading away, it's disappearing. In the Scandinavian countries, in the UK, it doesn't matter where, religion is slowly going down. One of the few places where Christianity, religion, and church are going up is places like Africa, where people have held on to it, steadfast. And I grew up in a very religious family, so the one thing to understand about me is I don't have anything against religion. I've always had a problem with what some people will use religion to do. That's a problem that I have. And so when I look at these conversations, I think to look at them in a vacuum doesn't give us a full understanding of the whys. It becomes easy to then go like, oh, Black people are moving slower. It's like, no, I don't think they are. If you look at the timeline, because if they were indoctrinated into being homophobic later on, then in their timeline, they are merely further along this way than the counterparts, who are white, who were homophobic before them. So I don't think Black people are moving any slower. I just think that now, people who are in charge of the media, people who have a lot more power, they have become accepting, and so now they're the ones who say, oh, it's time to be tolerant. But they moved just as slowly when they were in charge. And so I'm not saying that justifies it, I'm not saying that's where I want to be, but I do acknowledge and understand how powerful believing something is. I grew up in a very homophobic community, and not even from a place of hate. We're hating, we truly believe. We'll pray the day out of these people. We're going to help them. It's an abomination, but it's not their fault. We're going to help them. I believe that myself. And all the time, through contact, through knowledge, you realize, and it seems like you're trying to get rid of something that has existed since humans had themselves. And so maybe the problem isn't the problem, it's the acceptance of the people that seems.
Please. I'm going to shut that baloney down. First off, let me be very clear. So we're having Oprah Bermuda on tomorrow. We're having Oprah Bermuda on tomorrow. And the guest, hope she don't mind me saying, there are 3 people I communicate with daily via WhatsApp. I probably communicate with her more than anyone. Legit. But as I've said to her numerous times, I don't think Black people traditionally have an issue because of religion. I think that's BS. I think Black people have an issue with white people. Let me be clear. White people who try to this is not about equality and justice. Because if it was, as Dave Chappelle said, when they all try to demonize him, is why a Black issue is still being pushed back. This has a lot to do with race, not sexuality. I'm sorry. This is race. And we are afraid to call it for what it is. I was just talking to someone about this last night. And only truly honest Black gay people will admit that. Probably not publicly, but the conscious ones will. This is about race. It's not about sexuality. And if I have to be the one to lead that argument, then I will. Let me be very clear. And I said this when I left the BTA. You want to see if somebody's really done? Ask yourself why some of the leaders of LGBT in Bermuda was deemed some of the most racist people against Blacks. Think about that. So no, I don't think it's about sexuality. I think this comes down to race, and we cannot let them control the narrative. Racism exists, and there's a big difference between being white gay and Black gay. You don't think I'm lying? Go look at the flags that were hanging in Philadelphia not some years ago. We're black people, we're putting a black in the rainbow because we exist too. And this is why my message to black people, you must stand up. You must represent black people regardless of their sexuality, because they're going to get it twice. They're going to get it twice because they're gay and because they're black. So no, I don't accept that this is about religion. I am sick and tired of people picking on black people as if, oh, we're the only ones that are deemed. No, not everyone's religious. This is not religion. Yeah, some people will hold on to their religion, but I don't accept that. I will not allow race to be buried under sexuality. I'm sorry. I'm done.
I will say,
I thought I heard that differently, Jamal, but okay.
No, the first thing he said, that was a long clip. I'm addressing the first thing he said when he first came out, start talking about religion. I disagree. And that's a narrative. It's not just about what he said, Sherry. I was addressing a cultural norm. It's become culturally normal to demonize black people and act as if it's religion. It's not religion. Black people are smarter. They know. They know. I don't care whatever. Dave Chappelle said some truths in what he said. He said black people been fighting for all these years for simple things. Ain't got it. Other groups come, whoop, and they got it. That's true. It's true. I will not allow our black struggles to be pushed down for other stuff. We can't. But that doesn't mean we have to be rude and disrespect people because of our sexuality. I'm not saying that. But black people we got to be smarter with this. I'm tired of that collective norm, that argument that's been made. It's disrespectful to the struggle. And I've had numerous conversations with married gay couples publicly, right? Publicly, mixed ones, some who watch this show, to discuss that very stuff. So no, I don't accept that. Nope, sorry. No. Race? Nah, man, I'm a black man. When you see me coming down the street, you see a black man. I'm more of a danger than somebody you don't coming down the street, you don't even know their sexuality. Sorry, but it has to be said.
I just want to reiterate and maybe play devil's advocate, because the question was, well, from Glenn, was about like, why isn't the black community as accepting? I think he was pertaining it to possibly Bermuda, but there are different stats that we could even go on about the referendum when it came through, before 2015, something like that, where it was like almost 50-50. That's the other things that we can discuss and talk about. But I
take that Glenn may have been asking about Bermuda, but I think that's still a cheap shot. I think it's a cheap shot because black Bermudians are still disenfranchised. And I think we forget that because we've got a dumbass black government per se, that racism doesn't exist. Racism still exists. And I think to put even the referendum, there are a lot of black people that didn't partake in it for whatever reason. But I will not, until I'm on my deathbed, I will not let race be overtaken by other issues. I'm sorry. It impacts more of us than sexuality. We don't have the support. Just look at who sponsors what. We don't have it. We cannot allow that to happen. Seriously.
Okay. Reiterating that was a small clip from a 1 hour interview though. But in your sports related news coming from Island Stars, Bermuda archery competitors are preparing for international competition. For the first time ever in Bermuda, we'll be competing in the CAC Games in San Salvador for archery, and making the history with the entry is Cameron Pickering, and off to compete in the World Archery Youth Championship is Limerick, in Limerick, Ireland. For another first for Bermuda is Jaden Roberts and Robin Seeley. And finally in the Island Games in Guernsey will be Bernard Wade III and Robert O'Connor. In the past, Bermuda archers have attended the games and had a mixed team place second in those games. But these are going to be two firsts for the CAC Games and for the World Archery Youth Championship for Bermuda as an entry.
Is that bow and arrow thing?
That I do have a picture of it, and yes, that is a bow and arrow thing, archery. Same thing they may have done if you ever watched Hunger Games. That's it right there.
So true story, when I was in the Boy Scouts, right? We went on a trip to Canada. And I don't know what I was doing, but I got the bullseye. And they thought I was this great shot. Well, I don't know why they thought that, because they put me in something and it didn't work out, guys. I mean, I'm being honest, it was really bad. But I say that because it takes so much skill to do that. Like it literally, to do it over. It's like bowling. You have people who bowl like just go for leisure, and then you have people who could bowl a strike every game. That lucky shot made them think I was good at this, and I had no idea what I was doing. So
just once?
Yeah, just once. It was my first shot, and yeah. But no, props to them. Congrats to them, and all the best to them.
Yeah, it's first time for Bermuda, so that's really good history there. So I'll keep you guys updated on their placements in the CAC and the Youth World Championships. So as for the weather, it's going to be some sunny breaks, but a chance of a few showers are more likely to happen as well later on. And we have a high of 79 degrees Fahrenheit today.
Oh, I guess that means that it's a bit better than it's been over the last few weeks. But yesterday I heard that it was good sun, right? Was that right?
It was beautiful. Yes, it was beautiful.
I heard a lot of people took advantage of it yesterday.
We need more days like that, apparently, Mother Nature. Maya, I know this is far ahead, but it's Carnival next weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so people are relying on you to give them something good. So let's have a chat with Mother Nature and the weather folks to kind of get something going for them.
I'll see what you can do.
What the days of the year, Sister Sherry?
Today is World Day Against Child Labor. The International Labor Organization has marked this as an annual holiday, and the Institute by United Nations brings attention to the plight of child laborers around the world and the need for a concerted effort to end all forms of child labor. They have urged the world community since 2002 to take immediate and effective actions to abolish and prohibit the use of child labor in any form. The International Labor Organization is trying to meet their goal by eliminating child labor by 2025, but much work needs to be done. We have to do our part.
Sancha sent me something this weekend that was on Instagram, and it was about that company, the company that does Bermuda's Love was talking about them, the clothes company. You know, where's talking about them? What the name? Yes.
Shein.
And it was a video about Shein and talking about, I guess a boycott because of it. Now, Sherry knows I must have tried purchase Shein once, like last year or something. And I wore like 2 of the shirts, and I'm just like, it just wasn't me. It wasn't me. And it's not about status. I just said, okay, these clothes look pretty cool, whatnot. Consciously, it's hard to avoid purchasing stuff like that because we traditionally, do you all really know where your clothes are coming from?
For the most part.
No, I mean, they're coming from China or wherever. You see the label, but do you know where they're coming from is what I mean.
I mean, how they're being manufactured and who's making the label of them. Well, me personally, I take a conscious effort only to really thrift for the most part or shop locally and then ask like who produces it. So but yeah, go on.
Yeah, and I think, most people traditionally don't, know where the clothes are coming from. Mm-hmm. And I think what Maya's saying is what I think all of us probably should be doing if we have time, just putting a little effort in. Even when it came to, someone sent me some years ago, it's called Earth Rings, when looking for like rings, for like engagement rings and stuff to avoid blood diamonds and so on. I think if we took a little more time to think and act and look, let's stop supporting things that are harming people. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think that's a message today, Sherry, that days of the year.
Well, and I want to say on top of that, yes, we talked about Shein, but we need to look at the clothing industry in its entirety. And just because it has a name brand label, and it does not mean that there's not child laborers behind it as well. So I do like what Maya does as well as I do is thrift, being able to, of course, not putting back into that industry, but recycling it in its entirety.
Well, you said you thrifted this weekend. What's a thrift store? Like what's one that you would visit in the US, Sherry?
Oh, they have one here called The Better Way, which is one of, I believe it's a kind of attached to a church, or Goodwill. And they just have very much independent thrifting stores. I go on Facebook Marketplace as well. So the whole purpose of thrifting is to not put back into pollution or into the environment, but to recycle basically what somebody has. It could be used, one man's trash is another man's treasure type of attitude.
What do you, because I know you're a thrifter, you said, Maya, what would you say like you go to in Bermuda for thrifting?
I mean, I almost visit every single one of them, but you got to be careful of like the big, what what is the words that we want to use? The chain thrift stores, and you gotta like look into whatever they actually do, because some of them say and claim that they give most of their funds to some sort of charity or church, but sometimes it's not like that. And I've read stories about them, so just be mindful where you're going, and again, look into them. Like I say, like look into who your journalist is and who so and so is, whatever. Look into the places that you shop, definitely. But in Bermuda, I want to say probably my favorite go to is the Barn. My second go to is always going to be the one up in Paget. I'm losing the Restart. I love Restart a lot. I also go Salvation Army and Red Cross. Those are probably my top 4 that I always like constantly like visit around. But yeah, when it comes to Shein, I do want to say as well, because I've seen this too, it's like Shein is really for people who really can't afford. Like if you can't afford to get clothes, I know it's cheap, but you're going to keep onto it for a long time. That's like, I guess you could say the green light where it's okay to purchase from them when you know you're going to keep these clothes for a long time. But what's damaging is those influencers who would buy in bulks and try to do like the holes of like buying 50, 30 pieces because they can afford it and it's no big deal to them, but then trash it immediately after they've worn it. Like that's the type of bad fashion sense that we hate to promote, but that's the type of audience and people that constantly shop at Shein. So I try not to. Like I go as far as if I see a Shein haul pop up on my thing, person blocked, delete it, and report it. Because like I don't support like the supporting child labor. Like that's how I see it whenever I see someone do a Shein haul, like personally. So I don't.
Well, thank you for the positive spin, because I'm glad she said that, because again, I didn't even know how much it costs, folks. But I think everyone has different budgets, and sometimes people just need clothing to wear at places. And if it's within your budget and you know you're going to hold on to it for a long time, I'm all for it. But again, it's the conscious part of it. It's the manufacturer. Yeah. I don't want to know that what I'm supporting is hurting anybody emotionally, physically, mentally, anything. I continue to say that, right? I don't want to be that person. So we have to lead as long as we have a voice on a platform. Maya, thank you so much for today's news break. Folks, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back with the Daily Play.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I do want to say, and this is a trigger warning, but ask your close friends, ask your family who maybe their abusers are as well, so you don't interact with them too in any way. I know that's coming, but like having this conversation about being conscious about, the things that we support and stuff like that, or the people we support, it's just a thought process about if you're close enough to someone where they can trust you with that information, for you not to say anything. Because I've had in the past too, where I've deliberately not produced some interviews maybe away in school because it was somebody's abuser, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to put it out there. I'm not. So there's things like that we should always like be conscious of as well, especially when someone's willing to tell us this information. Mm-hmm. So just want to put that out there.
And before you go, one more thing, Maya. You and I spoke about this. I'm not sure who was on that day, but a couple of weeks ago we were saying we have a responsibility with our platform to ensure that things don't get lost and we move on to the next story. And if I'm not mistaken, guys, this week makes a full month since the accident, the collision, the death of Marco Warren. And his sister made a post this weekend on Twitter, just pleading once again. And, Maya just reported, what was it, 4 collisions today? 3. 3 collisions. Folks, it's a month already. We've had the Rudy Smith situation some years ago. How many of us remember that and still speak about it? We've got to keep their names in our mouths and their situations, their memory alive. I just feel a level of guilt us not mentioning it. So again, if you know anything, if you know someone who's been acting different or withdrawn when the conversation or name comes up, I mean, I'm not an expert at this. Sherry, Maya, do you know any signs from like someone that maybe, I don't know, but again, I don't want this to just go away.
I think signs just consist of maybe someone being avoidant, being just a change in behavior. Everyone's change in behavior is quite different. And if you know a person and there's a change in their behavior, it's definitely something to question further. If you love that person, speak with them, talk with them, and just find out what's going on. We also have the physical evidence of a car or a bike or a truck or something. Something was hit. If somebody no longer has a car or vehicle, you need to question why. Where's that vehicle? What happened to it? And speak a little bit further. So it's all of those things, Jamal. It's all of those things.
All right. Maya, anything else?
I think for me personally, because I was talking about this the other day with a couple of friends, it's just time. It's just going to take time. Time that's going to be hurtful and painful for the family, and time for whoever there to step forward. It's just time.
Unfortunate, but I think Maya's right. Maya, have a wonderful Monday. Folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. If you appreciated the conversation and the news break today, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. We'll come back with the Daily Hour news. Daily play after this break. Stick with us.
Hi, welcome to ER Fisheries. I'm Jalen Steed, store manager and trained chef, and I'm here to help you with all of your food needs. Let's talk about why you should come and check out ER Fisheries. We offer the widest range of specialty meats and seafood items at a price point that will absolutely fit your budget. As a chef, I'm able to answer all of your food questions, help you come up with meal ideas, and generally guide you in the right direction. You'll get a custom shopping experience unlike any other food store in Bermuda, where we'll cater to your needs and provide you with excellent customer service. Where else can you get quality cooking advice and quality products? I look forward to helping you with all your meal ideas.
Alrighty, thanks again to Maya for the extended news break. Thanks again to the BAC Group of Companies, Medical Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. Folks, it's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Sherry, are you ready?
Sure. Are you going to give me some hints like you give some of your other co-hosts?
I will give you a hint. Here we go. Who said it? It's a who said it. Quote, "The greatness of a man is not in how much wealth he acquires, but in his integrity and his ability to affect those around him positively." This is a famous musician.
Musician? Harry Belafonte? No. Famous musician? Jay-Z? I don't know.
Thought someone in the audience would have had this. All right, I'll repeat it. I thought someone in the audience. Yeah, somebody got it. Aaron Smith. Yes, there you go.
Oh, Bob Marley.
Yeah. When you went Harry Belafonte, I thought you were on the right track until you came back with Jigga Man.
Well, you didn't give me anything with that, so it's like, let me go.
Yeah, Stacey Brown got it. Nope, not Tupac. But yeah, Bob Marley said the greatness of a man is not in how much wealth he acquires, but in his integrity and his ability to affect those around him positively. Oh, how we crave that kind of leadership. Sister Sherry, let's wrap it up. Final thoughts on today's conversation and obviously the extended news break.
Question. What will it take for Bermudians in regards to our government? I think it just takes the risk, Jamal. It just takes us to believe in taking a risk to do different and understand that what we have in front of us is not working and has not been working for some time. And so there needs to be a change, and we need to stand united to do that. But we will see. Our extended news break. Maya's always got wonderful news. I'm glad that you got to go to the event with Trevor Noah and Glenn Jones and be able to speak with them and gain some more information just in general. People, take your time on these roads, and rental companies, let's really, give these tourists some better training or deny them a scooter.
Indeed. I'll say this much. I agree with so much that was said in the audience, but I think the change, the fight back against the government, the standing up to governments, going to take people to be a little bit more uncomfortable. And my hope is that it shouldn't have to take that. Like, we don't need to be enslaved to understand that slavery is wrong, and we should stand up against its return. We shouldn't have to, be in our worst state to stand up for what we believe in. So my hope is that people will speak up, push back, and facilitate change from and use the power that they have. The change we'd like is within all of us. As far as the news break with Maya, there's so much to take in. Again, collision after collision. Folks, just be careful, be conscious, and be cautious. All roads are not in the best state, but we can avoid collisions if we just take our time. I repeat, I have nothing against any community, especially when they're not causing harm. But we have a race problem in Bermuda, and I feel like it will continue to get buried by other issues. I don't think anyone, right, should be discriminated against because of their sexuality. But what I am not going to tolerate or not have, and it keeps happening the world over, is racist people supporting that, right? But literally acting like Black people are the own worst enemy. And maybe we are in some respects, but no, we're not going to push it down and act like Black people are the biggest. Look, conservative whites are putting out documentaries and hate, all the time. Black people don't have time to do that. So I want to make sure that we understand the true systemic issue, which is Black people. As far as, as we ended it just now regarding Marco Warren, I want us to keep his name and the many others who are still seeking justice. It's up to us to use our platforms to really not send threats, but just messages of hope and love, not only to his family and friends, but to the person who may be responsible. That's the only way you're going to get persons to do the right thing. They need love too, despite what act they may have committed. Sherry, you've got some daily inspiration for us?
I do. The daily inspiration is being brought to you by ER Fisheries. We can throw stones, we can complain about them, we could stumble on them, climb over them, or build with them. And that's from William Arthur Ward.
I love that. Thank you so much for that, Sherry. Sherry, it's been a good Monday.
It is.
Monday. Unfortunately, your Monday with me is over.
Or fortunately, it is.
All right. See, you always gotta be active. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Mediquals, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out.